Okay, let's be honest. You have seen that picture, right? That weird oval-shaped map covered in blue and red splotches. They call it the baby picture of the universe. And I have to admit, for the longest time, I just did not get it. It looked more like a strange weather map or some piece of abstract art than the afterglow of the creation. I could say the facts that the universe began 13.8 billion years ago with a Big Bang, but how could this splotchy image be the proof? How is a picture of faint invisible light the blueprint for everything we see? It just wasn't clicking. I felt like I was missing the key, like everyone was in on a secret I wasn't. So I decided I was going to figure it out, to connect the dots between that confusing image and the story of Big Bang. And somewhere between the physics of primordial plasma and a wild story about two guys and some pigeon poop, it happened. The story of this ancient light stopped being the collection of facts and it became real. It becomes a place you can almost see. I want you to let in on what I found. This isn't a photo of a blob. It's a map of every direction you can look, like peeling the label off a globe and flattening it. This is the story of that light, the cosmic microwave background, and how my journey to understand that one image finally made the Big Bang make sense to me. It's a story of the afterglow of creation. Alright, for this to make sense, we have to go back, way back. Not just back in time, but back to a time before time as we know it even really mattered. We have to go back to the first moment of the universe. In the first second after the Big Bang, the universe was this unbelievably hot, dense soup of fundamental particles, a chaotic mess of quarks, gluons, electrons, and photons, all churning at temperatures of trillions of degrees. Everything that would eventually become our observable universe was compressed unimaginably. It wasn't really a place so much as a state of pure, violent energy. Over the next few minutes, as this inferno expanded and cooled, things started to relax, just a little. Quarks grabbed onto each other to form the first protons and neutrons. These then started fusing into the first atomic nuclei, mostly hydrogen and helium, the basic building blocks of the cosmos. But even then, the universe was completely alien environment. It was a plasma. We all know solids, liquids, and gases. Well, plasma is the fourth state of matter. It's what happens when things are so intensely hot that electrons are literally ripped away from their atomic nuclei. The entire universe was this boiling ionized fog, a chaotic sea of positively charged nuclei and loose negatively charged electrons zipping all over the place. And, crucially, it was filled with light. Photons, the particle of light, were everywhere. But the first secret that started to unlock this for me, this light couldn't go anywhere. For the first 380,000 years, the universe was complete opaque. Think about trying to see through the very center of the sun. You cannot, right? That plasma, the plasma is so dense that photons of light cannot travel more than a tiny distance before it slams into a free electron and gets scattered in a random direction. It's like a pinball in a machine with billion bumpers. That was our entire universe. And that right there is why we can never ever see the Big Bang itself. There's a fundamental wall in our past, a curtain we just cannot peek behind. The light is our messenger from space, but for those few 100,000 years, no messages could get out. The universe was basically locked room, filled with its own brilliant churning fog. This period is just fascinating to me because you have a universe that's full of light, but completely dark to any observer. For next thousands of years, this cosmic soup thinned out. The temperature dropped from trillions of degrees to billions, then millions, and then finally just to few thousand kelvins. The frantic energy was dying down. The universe was growing and stretching, and as it did, it was getting closer to a tipping point. A stage was being set for the most dramatic event since the Big Bang itself, the moment the light would finally be set free. For about 330,000 years, the universe was locked in a cosmic standoff. On one side, the force of electromagnetism was trying to pull free electrons and protons together into a stable neutral atoms. On the other side, the universe was so blistering hot that photons had enough energy to just blast them apart the second they formed. As long as those electrons were free, that photon pinball game continued, and the universe stayed opaque. And then, after all that time, everything changed. But this is the thing that bothered me. Why then? Why at 300,000 years? Why not at 400,000 years or some other number? The energy to ionize hydrogen is 13.6 electron volt. That translates to roughly 150,000 Kelvin, which matches much hotter temperature. So you would expect the atoms to form when the universe cooled below that. But they didn't. It only formed at 3000 kelvins. Why? The answer lies in a sheer number of photons to protons. For every proton, there is 1 billion photons. As the early universe cooled down, the average energy also went down. But rare high energy photons still existed. Even when the average photon energy was too low to ionize hydrogen, you just needed a small number of photons from high energy end of spectrum to have enough punch to keep zapping any new atoms apart. The tipping point came when the universe cooled to 3000 Kelvin. At that temperature, there were finally too few of these atom-busting photons left to win the fight. The constant zapping wasn't just effective anymore. Electromagnetism won. This moment is called recombination. It's a slightly strange name since the electrons and protons were combining for the very first time, but the name stuck. And based on what we know about cosmic expansion and cooling, this temperature threshold was crossed at about 380,000 year mark. The number isn't random. It's a direct calculation from the laws of physics. The result was immediate and epic. With all those free electrons now safely locked up inside atoms, the main obstacle for the photons was gone. The dense fog that had filled all of the space for millennia, poof, it just vanished. In an instant, the universe became transparent. And at that exact moment, every single photon in the cosmos was set free. That is the birth of cosmic microwave background. And at that moment, a blinding flash of light was released, not from a single spot, everywhere in the universe at once. But why microwave? Why not visible wave? The light that was released wasn't microwave light back then. It was a brilliant yellowish white light, the color you would see on a surface of a 3000 Kelvin star. For the first time ever, light could travel in a straight line across space. But that was just the start of its trip. For the next 13.8 billion years, these photons would travel through the universe that was constantly expanding. And as space expanded, it stretched everything in it, including the light itself. This is an effect called cosmological redshift. Imagine drawing a wave on a rubber sheet. What happens when you stretch the sheet? The wave gets longer, right? That's exactly what happened to this light. As the space expanded for billions of years, the wavelength of this ancient light stretched out. The brilliant high-energy visible light was gradually shifted down the spectrum from visible to infrared and eventually all the way into the microwave part of the spectrum we detect today. The intense heat of that first flash has cooled as its wavelength stretched. The 3000 Kelvin firewall has now cooled to a faint whisper of just 2.725 Kelvin, barely 3 degrees above absolute zero. It's incredibly cold, incredibly faint, and totally invisible to our eyes. But it's still here. It fills every single cubic inch of the cosmos. It's the oldest light we can ever see, like a fossil of the Big Bang's fireball. This radiation, now microwave, is the cosmic microwave background. It's the afterglow from that moment the universe cleared up, still washing over us, passing through our planet and our bodies every single second. And here's the best part, the part that feels like it's straight out of a movie. We have found this light completely by accident. This ancient light is all around us, but for the most human history, we couldn't see it. And when we first did, we had absolutely no idea what we were looking at. The real story isn't some grand scientific quest. I want you to hear this. It's a story about two radio astronomers, a giant horn-shaped antenna, an annoying hiss that they couldn't get rid of. The year was 1964. At Bell Labs in New Jersey, two astronomers, Arno Panzias and Robert Wilson, had a new toy, a horn antenna. It's a massive 20-foot instrument built to communicate with early satellites. By then, the antennas were available for research, and Panzias and Wilson wanted to use it to map the faint radio signals coming from our galaxy. But the moment they turned it on, they hit a wall. There was a persistent background noise, a faint, steady hiss that seemed to come from everywhere all the time. Day and night, no matter where they pointed their giant antenna, The static was there. It was uniform and frustratingly consistent. Being careful scientists, they assumed something was wrong with their equipment. The noise had to be coming from Earth, so they checked everything. They pointed it at New York City, thinking that the interference would make the noise spike. It didn't change. They checked all the electronics, searching for any faulty component. They found nothing. And this is where the story gets almost unbelievable. They noticed a pair of pigeons had made a home inside the throat of the antenna. They started to worry that the pigeons and what they left behind, what Wilson's politely called a white dielectric material, could be the source of the noise. They climbed into the antenna, cleaned out all that nest, and scrubbed away every last bit of pigeon droppings. They put it all back together and pointed it at the sky. Can you imagine the frustration? The hiss was still there, unchanged. Penzias and Wilsons were completely stumped. They had ruled out every single thing they can think of, the city, their own electronics, even the bird droppings. They had to face the fact that the noise wasn't just a glitch. It was real. It was coming from the space. But what in the world was it? They had no clue. Meanwhile, just 40 miles away at Princeton University, a team of physicists led by Robert Dicke was about to find the answer. Unbeknownst to Penzias and Wilsons, Dicke's team had theorized that if the universe began with a hot Big Bang, it must have left behind a cool afterglow, detectable as a faint microwave signal filling all of space. This idea actually had predicted back in 1940s by George Gamow and his team, but their work was mostly forgotten. Dicke's team was in the process of building an antenna specifically to hunt for this exact signal. The two stories collided with a single phone call. Penzias was talking to a colleague about their frustrating noise, and the colleague mentioned he had seen a paper by a physicist named Jim Peebles, part of Dicke's group, theorizing about a background radiation left over from the Big Bang. The pieces clicked right into the place. Penzias called Robert Dicke. As Penzias described the uniform, inescapable hiss they could not get rid of, the Princeton team knew immediately what it was. The story goes that after hanging up his phone, Dicke turned to his colleague and said, "Well, boys, we have been scooped." The Princeton group confirmed it. Penzias and Wilson, just trying to get rid of some annoying static, had accidentally stumbled upon the echo of creation. The two teams published their papers back to back. Penzias and Wilson described the signal they had found, and Princeton team explained that this signal was the cosmic microwave background. For their accidental discovery, Penzias and Wilson won the Nobel Prize in 1978. Suddenly, that abstract idea of a cosmic beginning had a sound, a faint, constant static, the oldest and most important sound of the universe. Before 1965, Big Bang was just one of the several competing ideas. The main rival was the steady-state theory, which said that the universe was eternal and never changed. The discovery of the CMB was a silver bullet that ended that debate for good. The universe that was always same wouldn't have a fading afterglow from a hot beginning. The CMB was the smoking gun. It turned the Big Bang from a cool idea into the standard model of cosmology. But the real secret is buried in the details. When the satellites later mapped the CMB across the whole sky, they found it was incredibly uniform. The temperature is 2.725 Kelvin almost everywhere you look. This tells us that the early universe was extremely well mixed. Exactly what Big Bang predicts. But here's the thing, it's not perfectly smooth. And this is the most important part of all. The satellite maps show tiny minuscule fluctuation in temperature, about 1 part in 100,000. When I used to see those famous maps of the CMB with blue and red splotches, I assumed that it was just noise. But the secret I learned is that those splotches aren't noise at all. They are most important part of the whole picture. They are the seeds of everything. Those tiny temperature variations are a direct map of tiny density variations in that original primordial fog. A spot that was a tiny bit denser and had a tiny bit more gravity. A photon trying to escape that spot would lose a tiny bit more energy, making it appear slightly more cooler to us. So on the CMB map, the cold blue spots are the places that were a fraction of a percent denser back then, while the red spots are a bit less dense. And this is the mind-blowing connection. Those slightly denser, slightly cooler blue spots were the gravitational seeds that, over billions of years, grew into everything we see today. The denser region pulled in more and more matter, and they grew and grew. The less dense region became the huge empty voids in space. Over eons, the matter in the dense region collapsed, forming the first stars. Those stars gathered into the first galaxies. Those galaxies pulled together into galaxy cluster, which formed the massive web-like structure we see today. Every star, every galaxy, every giant supercluster can trace its origin back to one of those tiny blue spots on the baby picture of the universe. When we look at that CMB map, we are looking at the blueprint of the entire universe. This, for me, was the ultimate aha moment. But it gets even better. By studying the patterns of these spots, cosmologists can perform a kind of cosmic forensics. They can tell us stunningly precise things about our universe. It tells us the universe's age, about 13.8 billion years old. It tells us the recipe for the universe. And the recipe is bizarre. It shows us that all the normal matter we see, atoms, stars, planets, make up only 5% of the universe. About 27% is an invisible substance called the dark matter, which provides gravitational scaffolding for the galaxies to form. And the rest, 68%, is dark energy, a mysterious force causing the universe expansion to speed up. It tells us the geometry of the space. Based on the size of these spots in the sky, we can measure the curvature of the universe. And the data shows, with incredible precision, that the universe is flat. So this one picture, the faint microwave glow, holds the age, the ingredients, and the shape of our entire universe. It proves the Big Bang, shows us the seed of all structures, and reveals the mysterious dark side of our cosmos. It's not just an old photograph. It's an encyclopedia, a Rosetta Stone of cosmology. When I started this deep dive, the cosmic microwave background was just a confusing picture. It was an abstract concept that didn't feel real to me. But cosmic microwave background changed all of that. It was the missing piece, the physical proof that connects the theory of the reality. It's the evidence that a hot, dense beginning actually happened. So now when I think of Big Bang, I just don't see an abstract explosion. I think of that moment the cosmic fog cleared. I picture a universe suddenly filled with brilliant golden light. A light that is still traveling, still cooling, still washing all over us. I see this faint, lingering warmth, the afterglow of the creation, an echo that connects us directly to the dawn of time. And looking up at the sky, knowing that the invisible light is everywhere, I can finally say, after all that digging, I get it. I am in on the secret. Thanks for watching.